Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and others. It's time for a sketchbook tour. Alright, this was my first ever sketchbook. I think it came from either Walgreens or Target, I believe. Okay. I had a lot of anxiety as a child. So I never really felt comfortable asking for things, even if I wanted them. So the fact that I managed to get this at all is a miracle. I was really excited to have something to draw in that wasn't just lined paper. So let's take a look inside, shall we? So I started this sketchbook in, as you can see, I went back and added later, about 6th grade, maybe a little sooner, but I used to draw a ton of dragons all the time, and I had this was the very specific way in which I would do it, and I was very, very proud of this drawing. I remember this one in particular I spent a lot of time and effort on, and I was really proud of it, and I wanted to show my family, but I was also very anxious and very shy. So instead of just going up to my parents and saying, "Hey, look at this thing I made," I took my parents individually out into the hall. I made them swear on a Bible to tell me the truth about whether or not they actually liked it, and they did. They liked it a lot. This, I don't even know if you can really see it since I pushed so hard from the other page it went through. This was supposed to be a drawing of my stuffed animals on my bed. I actually still have all 3 of these stuffed animals, and they sleep with me every night. Okay, this was supposed to be like a baby deer, I think. I think I drew it without the antlers, but then my mom or somebody thought it was supposed to be a dog, so I added the antlers. I don't know. Up next, I had a How to Draw Mythical Monsters book, and this was supposed to be a dragon, but as you can see, I would follow it very literally, but I also didn't know how to draw lightly, so I put the guidelines in very, very dark. This is Cinderella. I have a painting in my room back at my parents' house that is a scene of Cinderella at the castle with a lot of hidden images in it, and I wanted to draw that. I started on her shoulder and her arm bits, and I took a while with actually trying to like copy it there, but then I just again gave up and scribbled the rest of it. So who knows what my art would have looked like had I but been a little more patient. Next up, we have another dragon. I believe at one point it had ropes binding it down because it was trapped. Cute little doodle there. I had like a 2-day phase where I drew like this, and I wanted to create some characters that I never did anything with. Another character. So my art has been very anime/manga inspired for a long time, even though I've never really read or seen any manga or anime. I did watch a ton of Mark Crilly YouTube videos though, which definitely contributed to my obsession with drawing in this style because I thought he was the best thing to ever exist ever in the whole universe. This was in 2010, wow, almost exactly a decade ago at this point. I would pretend to be like my own art teacher, and so I graded myself. I gave myself an 80 here, a 90 here, and a 100 here, and I would leave myself little notes about what I needed to improve. This, I thought at the time, not even thought, it was the best thing I'd ever drawn because, man, I went ham on that shading. I was like, damn girl, you are an artist supreme, artiste. I think I drew this at like an Italian restaurant. I put it in later. I was so dramatic. A song for piano I started and never finished. I don't know why I just didn't print out some staff paper and decided to draw it instead. It was very inefficient of me. This was an advertisement for a dragon breed I made up called apparently the Atlanta Dragon. And then these are some horses that I drew in, yeah, definitely drew these in 6th grade. Oh, I even wrote 6th grade on here. I drew in 6th grade in class one day, and I wanted to transfer them into my sketchbook, so I copied the first 2 in, Kara and Kino, because, spoiler alert, I was a horse girl. But I always thought it was funny because I also had Cora and Loki, and I literally had no idea who Loki was. I made this horse a girl. I came up with that name on my own. Maybe I had heard the name Loki before, and I just didn't realize I had heard it before. I just thought it sounded cool with some random syllables that I came up with, so I've always thought that was pretty interesting. A funny little coinky-dink. I drew this, I vividly remember this. I drew this in the car. I drew this character all the time. She was the one who I did on this drawing. I don't think I ever gave her a name, but it was like the only pose and the only girl that I ever drew. She had a very specific side bang, and it wasn't because I didn't want to draw the other eye. I clearly could draw the other eye. I just thought it looked cool, and she had like a very ineffective headband. I don't know what I was going for. But I drew this in the car one day with some of those twistable color pencils. Man, I was obsessed with those things. I freaking loved them. And I checked out a How to Draw Horses book from the library, and these are a couple of drawings from that book. Some more of those. I still really like this one. It has good emotion. More horse drawings. And this one, I think, again, I just kind of drew it and then gave up because I didn't feel like it anymore, so I decided the world didn't need to see that. The world wasn't ready for the power of this. I think it was a donkey. The world was not ready. Here I was designing more dragons. This one called the Murgot dragon. This one was the Feather dragon because, get it? It had feathers. This I vividly remember. I had a bookmark with a bald eagle on it, and I wanted to redraw it because I thought it was cool. The image I used was like, that big. So the fact that I was able to blow it up was really impressive because for a long time, in recent years, and when I was using a photo reference, I found it very, very difficult to draw it in a different size than the reference actually was. I've kind of overcome that now, but the fact that I could do it so easily back in 2011 is interesting considering I had such a hard time with it relatively recently. A Random Lady, I think, was loosely based on a TV show or a movie we had recently seen. Same thing for this one. This was supposed to be, I think, my brother. This is like his chin, the outside of his face, and the beginning of his ear, but I never finished it. This one is my brother again. He was laying on my bed with his butt in the air, pretending to be asleep. So I wanted to draw like a caricature of him, and I made his butt super big because I thought it was funny because I was like 12 years old. My brother and I very briefly had a game we would play where we would draw a battle happening. I don't know the rules or how we figured it out or anything, but we only did that twice. And here's another dragon. And then my mom drew, I think this is Pete's dragon. She signed it Mommy. Oh, okay. So I labeled this my first fade away dragon, see, because it faded away, because I thought it was so cool and that it was going to become like a new thing or a new idea that I did, and then I never drew a dragon like this ever again. So, and there's this yellow boy. He has been through a lot. I am so sorry, sir, that I put you through all of this. A random face. I think I was trying proportions here. Oh my gosh, this drawing. I lose it every time I see it because I don't know what I was going for here, but it's just the most hilarious thing to me. The start of a face. My middle school best friend, one day, we had this book we were writing together with a bunch of characters and everything. And one day she just took my sketchbook, and which I was fine because I figured she was just gonna look through it. But she gives it back and she's drawn this giant face on one of the pages, and I'm like, bro, what the heck? But what? I'm still salty over it, honey. No. This was one of the characters. All the characters in the book that we were writing, which is about aliens, they had 6 toes, no belly buttons, and elf ears because we were 7th graders. But all the characters were based off of our actual friends. Her name was Balaza, for a girl we knew named Isabel. The main character, dragon, because of course on this alien planet there were dragons. This was Araza, based off of Sarah. She was the main bad guy, or antagonist, let me get my terminology straight. This was the main character, Sina, when she was carrying Nyan, which is the name of the dragon, when she first hatched. It was kind of like a weird mishmash of a lot of stuff, including Aragon. So she was like a dragon rider. I don't know. It was very strange. I took a bunch of fantasy influences together for this. This was the half-sister or step-sister or something that really didn't like Sina, and so she was kind of a total bitch. This one was based off of our friend Catherine. I don't remember what the name we used was. Maybe like Katarina or something like that. This is a random berry anime girl I drew, which I really liked, and I still think has a lot of whimsy, and there's a lot of good things going for it. But I really like this. I think the general shape, and I took a lot of pride and a lot of time in this drawing, so it still makes me really happy to see it. Then for Christmas in 2012, I got a couple of how to draw manga books. So this was the character I came up with by exactly following the tutorial. So this is the character from the tutorial. I didn't create her at all, but I named her Kelly. And I really liked her hair. I still really like that hairstyle. This is also from the book, and I went in later to try and date some of this stuff. So this is maybe a couple days after this drawing. So this is around 2012, 2013. This is gonna turn into some more practice, I think, but never went anywhere with it. This was kind of a pseudo self-portrait. For the longest time, I wished I had green eyes and red hair. So this is how my idealized version of myself. And I still think this drawing is super cute. This also makes me really happy to look at. Like, it brings me so much joy. I should redraw this, that would be fun. Here I was going to come up with an alphabet, and I started with some of the letters and never finished. I got a fountain pen set, and so I was trying to figure out how to make it work by drawing dramatic eyes and stuff. This is where I found another art tutorial on YouTube when they were talking about people are so many heads high. I think this one is 6 heads high. The process wasn't working for me, so I just kind of decided I didn't want to do art that way, and I never really have done art that way because trying to follow that so rigidly, it didn't work. I didn't like it. And this was me trying out charcoal for the first time, while also trying to figure out how to draw eyes. Here I am. This is literally a year later because I didn't draw consistently. This is that same character from earlier, but I actually colored her in. And what I really liked about this paper was that it was thick enough that I could use a Sharpie to line it, and it didn't go on to the next page. It went to the back, but not to the next page. And I was like, hey, look at these chunky lines. Just some more angles from the tutorial book. Another drawing from that tutorial book, the How to Draw Manga book. Okay, this was right after we had seen Frozen when it came out, and I really loved Elsa's hairstyle, so I wanted to draw basically just any character that had a similar kind of hairstyle with like the hair swooping back on top of her head, so that's what I did, and I made her an evil sorceress witch lady and gave her a rad tattoo. I should bring her back. She was so much fun. Ideas, they flow. Anyway, here I was kind of expanding upon her outfit and abilities and fashion. I was fully designing her tattoo from all the angles so I could recreate it. Yes, I drew a little comic about it. I wanted to draw a full graphic novel because I'm pretty sure I was still in my Mark Curly phase, and he did a lot of, graphic novels and that kind of stuff, so I wanted to be just like him. But I drew a little prologue for it. And I think she was supposed to be a princess who gained powers through dubious means in order to protect her kingdom from some random threat. And then I never drew her again. This is another dragon. I got pretty good at drawing dragons, and then I just kind of stopped drawing dragons. And I don't know why, because I freaking love dragons. Like, what the heck, pass, Sam? This is a dragon based on a bat, so it pretty much just looks like a bat, but wanted to give it a longer tail and some more spikes. I was trying to do that whole skeleton mode of drawing here where you do the guidelines first, but I never finished it. Just some two people with their arms around each other. This was a character from what I was sure was going to end up being my magnum opus. I wanted to be a writer for the longest time. I don't really write that much anymore, and I've kind of put that to the side as far as career and hobby goals go, but this is one of the main characters from that book. It was about elves because I really liked elves and fantasy elements. His name was Zargos, and he was a Kurth, which was a kind of horse spirit. So he, in his true form, he had kind of horse ears. His hair was in a mane, a literal mane, just like a mohawk kind of, but floppy, you know, like a horse's mane. And he could turn into both just a regular looking elf and a horse. This was me trying to figure out how the main character's sister's house was set up. I clearly did not know how to design homes. Here I was trying to do a self-portrait and it was going pretty well, but I got bored and gave up. Okay, now comes the really emo, really angsty art from 2014, so I was in high school at this point, and each of these has a dramatic title. This one was called Jealousy because there was a lot of art up around the school, and sometimes art kids would get to like paint on the walls and stuff. And there is this one art piece where these roses were done pretty much like this, and I thought it was the coolest thing, and I just wish that I had any artistic ability because everybody always seemed to be better than me. Why couldn't I do that? So that's why it was called Jealousy, because I just copied some flowers. I don't know. This one is Longing, because I had a crush on this guy. Oh dear lord, someone needs to go tell 14-year-old me to just take a nap and drink some water and maybe I'll feel better. This one is The Protection of Love. This is supposed to be very metaphorical and simple and reminiscent of like paleo art, which is why I did like super simple faces and stuff. This one was called Two Sides to Everything. It was about how I liked band but also hated band because I got blisters, and sometimes a band director could be kind of a jerk but also won trophies, and it was really fun. So this is together about what I imagined being in a relationship would be like. This one was just again about how I really liked this guy. In the background, because I was in the background. This was around my birthday in 2015 at this point. Another dragon. I think this is either crayon or colored pencil. I think it might be crayon. I don't remember. And then I drew this. Honestly, I don't feel like I really understood the meaning of the body positivity movement at this point. I just saw other things about this and wanted to kind of jump in on it and draw some different body types. But then once I drew it, for some reason felt extremely ashamed and embarrassed that I had drawn this, and so I didn't look at it for several years and pretended that it didn't exist. But I think it's cute. And then on this last page, this is where I was going to keep track of all the colors I used for my characters so that I could draw them again and they would look the same. But then I never drew any of them again. So, and that was my first ever sketchbook. This sketchbook covered a span of like 4 years, and it was not until after this point when I got into high school and I took some art classes that I started drawing a little bit more regularly, but it honestly wasn't until my senior year of high school and more recently in the last couple of years of college that I've actually taken art seriously and drawn more often and been very serious about trying to get better and learning new things. So this sketchbook spanned a long period of time, but hopefully I'm trying to get it down where I draw more and I finish sketchbooks in a time that's not like 4 years. So far I'm averaging around 1 year. I had this very bad habit of starting new sketchbooks without finishing old ones, so I have a lot of half-finished sketchbooks. I'm always like, oh, I'm gonna finish those, I'm gonna fill in those pages, and then I don't, and I keep buying new sketchbooks. So I might just retire some of those old ones and do some more sketchbook tours because I think these are fun and I like to go back and see how I've improved over the years. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed looking back at my frankly sometimes hilarious, sometimes endearing, happiness inducing old art of mine. I really enjoyed making this video and I hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope to see you guys in the next one.